What's going on, everybody? Ricky here. Just wrapped up the episode 3 of the Positive Rate Aviation podcast last night. Shout out to my guest, Marquis Jones, my boy Keith. He came through, man, dropped some serious knowledge and wisdom on us, which ultimately is the goal here, or at least one of them, is to learn something, but also just great exposure for anyone who may be interested or curious in a particular path, given any career within aviation. So a special shout out to him, man. We had a great conversation, great discussion, and I want to especially thank him for dealing with me and a little bit of technical difficulties. As you guys can see, I'm not in my usual home studio. I'm away out of town visiting family, but we still made it happen. We pressed forward, and I'm really excited to get this out and for you guys to hear it. So also, it is now Christmas Eve, just before midnight, the time that I'm recording this. So with everything in light of the holidays, probably slow down a little bit, and then I plan to pick up at least as much as I can right at the start of the beginning of the year 2024. So a lot of good things to come. I've got some amazing guests lined up for the channel, man. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please subscribe, share it, tell your friends about it. Anything, whatever medium you decide to use would be greatly appreciated. And then to take it a step further, if you had anyone that you think would make a good candidate to be on this platform and has something to add or to share in regards to aviation, no matter the avenue, no matter their part of the industry. As you can see, I don't discriminate when it comes to aviation. I love all aspects. So pilots, mechanics, controllers, we do it all here. So with that being said, we got some of those types lined up, but anyone else that you think may be a good fit, send me their information, send them my way. Be more than happy to get more content out. But more to come. 2024 is going to be huge. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, been a part of the channel, and also has been shopping with my online store. Didn't expect it to pick up as fast as it did. Turned out that ended up being a really strong finish to the year. So getting more things out for you guys next year. But anyway, we're here to talk about episode 3. You guys are going to love it. I'm excited. So with that, man, Marquis Jones, Air Force Air Traffic Controller. Enjoy. All right. We are back. Been excited about this one. We are here with the Positive Rate Aviation podcast, episode 3. Today I'm joined by my guest, Marquis Jones. Marquis, man, what's going on, Keith?
Nothing much, man. Just living life. How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Good. I appreciate you doing this, man. And it's been a long time in the making. It's good to finally get you on, man.
For sure. It's been a
Yeah.
while, man. I
So,
appreciate the invite. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
no doubt, man. The big thing with this, man, I wanted to, and you may or may not know this. My vision really for this platform was to, just have exposure. Obviously, a lot of it is pilot focused and centric, but really what I wanted to do was bring awareness to the aviation industry as a whole. So as having professionals from various, areas up within the industry, whether it be, pilots, mechanics, and then obviously, you doing what you do. So, man, it's kind of nice to do something a little different, switch gears a little bit. I'll be honest. I was excited. But nervous about this one a little bit because I kind of had to do a little bit of extra homework to formulate my questions. So a little bit different. But I'm most excited because, man, I'm really a nerd at the end of the day, man. I'm kind of a bookworm. So I'm all about learning. Any opportunity I can get to learn something new that I don't know, it's a good day. So that's what I'm most excited about. But yeah, man, Keith, man, we've known each other since 2009. So I mean, we looking at almost 15 years at this point, man. First duty station, Shady J, man.
It's been a minute.
Young airman hooping. I think we was
That's how it all started.
hey, intramural hoops. I think we was getting smoked, man. And you probably had like 30. I might have had like 15, and then that was pretty much it. but but yeah, man. So yeah, kind of talk to me a little bit about where you're at now, what you're doing, and kind of the position that you hold.
Cool. So now I'm at Seymour Johnson again, back to where it all started at. I'm the chief controller in the tower, which means I'm just in charge of the facility now, just overseeing it. I still report to the flight commander and everything, of course, but just mainly in charge of facility operations, manpower, budgeting, you name it, of the tower right now. I've been bounced around between both facilities, which I'll get into that a little bit because I think a lot of people don't know there's a difference between radar approach control and tower when it comes to air traffic. So I've been to both, but right now I'm just in the tower. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Still learning how to be a master sergeant a little bit, and
Yeah,
that's where
yeah,
I'm at
no
now.
doubt, man. Yeah, that's right. That's my fault on that. I didn't give you your proper respect. I got to put some more respect on your name, man. Master Sergeant Marquis
Nah,
Jones.
nah, no, that's you.
Nah, hey,
I'm trying to
hey,
get
man.
like you. I'm trying to get like you.
Nah, you got it, bro. Um, so yeah, man. Okay, so tower chief tower controller. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Uh, Tower chief controller.
Tower chief control. Okay, that's what's up, man. So all right. So let's just kind of get straight into it, man. So how long have you been in the military now?
So I've been in the military now for 15 and a half years.
15 and a
Yeah, it'll
half
be
years.
16 come June.
Whew. That's hard time, man. Yeah, which we both know all too well. But time once time starts getting short, man, that light. I know if I know I can see it. Like that light is small, but it's definitely there. And I'm just doing what I can just to kind of chomp at the
Yep.
bit every little, every day, man, just to get closer and closer to it. Um,
Yeah, gotta get there.
so so with that, man, when you joined, like, did you kind of go in like knowing that you wanted to be like ATC? Like, what is your, kind of talk to me about that? Like, do you have a history of aviation in your family? Do you have any former controllers? Like, what did that like? How did you end up, kind of being a air traffic controller?
So the funny thing about this is my recruiter actually pushed me into air traffic. So I was one of the guys. I signed up for F-16 avionics first, but I missed that score by a point, I believe, in mechanics. And then I had chopper gunner and security forces and all the special forces next. But my recruiter's like, air traffic, like you should do this. I had no clue air traffic was. I thought it was crew chief, right? With the wands, the glow sticks out there, marshaling aircraft. So I was like, I'll do air traffic. The recruiter's like, there's a bonus. And I'm like, oh, leave wands all day for a bonus, right? So I signed up for it. I got to tech school, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. I've enjoyed it ever since. It's been a challenge. It keeps my mind busy. But no, I don't have any aviation, like any aviation relation, like between my family, between friends, none of that. I'm the first controller in my family, first controller out of my friends outside of the military. Now I'm just trying to spread what it actually is and get more people to join, actually.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, you kind of answered the question I was going to ask if anybody in your family like has been in control. What do they think about that, man? Do you get a lot of like questions like from your family or comments as far as like, man, because everybody kind of hears like that's like kind of notoriously known as like one of the most stressful jobs like in the world, right? So does your family kind of worry
Right.
about you? Like, do they ask a lot of questions regarding that?
They did initially for sure, and even when I was in training, my mom's best friend still, right? I call my mom all the time, like, "Hey, this test is stressing me out. This live traffic is stressing me out. Just everything." So she was worried about me a little bit. Um, but family definitely they'll call and ask all the time. And the biggest questions they ask is anytime there's an aircraft incident anywhere in the world, they call me and they think that I know about it for some
Yeah,
reason. So I'm like, I'm like I don't. That's thousands of miles away.
right.
That's out of my it's out of my airspace. But they don't understand that concept yet. So they ask
Yeah.
that, or they'll just ask. They just ask about air traffic in general, not necessarily the stress portion anymore. When I was going through training, they were like all into it, but Now it's just more like what is air traffic or how does this plane get from here to there. So
Yeah. Is it let me ask you this. Like, is it just as stressful now? Like, do you still I mean, I'm sure like any other job, like it's got its moments, right? But all in all, like, is it like that all the time, or once you kind of know what you're doing or you get to a particular facility, like, do you kind of settle in? Is it just kind of like a, mundane, kind of like, okay, not mundane, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you just go to work, you do your thing, and you go home and you're pretty stress free for the most part?
right, it just kind of depends on the day, honestly. So like it's like here is pretty busy because all the 15s and then the training mission that we have here. Then we have like Johnson County, which you flew into, pretty busy little airport. We control out there, like Wayne Executive, Kinston, all those. So the radar approach control gets busy here, and then the tower does too also. But when I was stationed at Robbins, that was a pretty slow base. So that was like a
Hmm.
mundane, just kind of routine type of thing. But here is always it keeps you on your toes. I always say the most stressful part of air traffic is training, whether that was me being in training or that's me plugged in with the trainee trying to let them go as far as I can so they can learn but not put anybody in danger. So those that
Hmm.
training is the most stressful part of your traffic in my personal opinion, but controlling by
Yeah.
myself is actually like a stress reliever. It's pretty fun. um
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad, and training pilots also get pretty stressful sometimes, but just
When you say training pilot,
you
what do you mean?
learn,
Like
you in
the
it
stu- like
together.
the you mean like the student pilot, like the guy, like the B course guys? Is that what you mean? Like the guys going through the B course,
Those
or
Yep, the B course ones, and then also the like Johnson County has the
oh, the
their
flight
pilot
school?
school. Just the guys doing like their yeah, yep, like the ones doing
Yeah.
their first solos. Like I'm gonna ask you later too how you felt during your. I definitely want to know about that. But when you can just kind of hear the fear in their voice a little bit, and they're like student pilot on my first solo, and then they're making their request a little bit. They don't really listen to everything you're saying as air traffic, right? It's like super
Yeah.
busy, and then they're just so robotic and locked in. And I'm like, I need you
Yeah.
to do something different really quick. So that
Right.
that gets a little stressful, but we have patience for it because we know that on the flip side, they're probably super irritated hearing our trainees stutter and say the wrong phraseology,
Yeah.
uh, and not give the right control instructions. So we understand,
Man.
but
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, I actually really appreciate you saying that because, we talk about it all the time. Like, I talk to other pilots, like we'll be flying and, you can hear other guys on the radio. And it's like kind of to your point, it's blatantly obvious when you've got a newer, low time pilot, not super comfortable talking. Cause it can be very intimidating when you first start. Plus, obviously
mhm,
we have the whole added element of, we're obviously in the air, we're moving, we're not to downplay, controllers, but obviously, your feet are firmly planted like on the ground, right? So I
yeah,
say all that to say, like it's reassuring and it feels good to hear a controller say, hey, we've got patience for it because I don't think all controllers necessarily keep that in mind. I think maybe it's like other things too, right? It kind of just becomes routine. But like, I think it's important for anyone who may see this or listen to this to know, like, hey, you know, yeah, we're just pilots. We're just the guys that are only in the radio, but we are human, and there's a lot going on, and things are happening, rapidly. I mean, believe it or not, even if you could be a Cessna 172 or a Strike Eagle, like you know what I mean. Like it's still a whole lot going on while we're talking to you guys. So definitely was nice to hear you say that. But one thing I did want to ask, I wanted to touch on real quick, man. When you mentioned training, right? Obviously, that's a big aspect. Like that's huge. Like with everything that y'all do. How long, on average, would you say it actually takes from when you get a new guy who shows up from tech school? He shows up there to the tower to get them to where like you're like okay, you no longer have to hold their hand. You're like okay, fly you can kind of fly the coop a little bit and do your thing.
right. So for the tower side, since there's the Rapcon in the tower, the for the tower side, it's about 6 months to a year, depending on which facility you go to and just how fast you pick up air traffic. For radar approach control, it's about sorry about that. It's
You
about
good?
12 months to 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
so it takes a while. It's just the book work.
Yeah, you just made me think about something I didn't even think about before, honestly. So are all, or just are mo? I know probably a fair amount are, but are all military facilities? Are those all kind of classified as Class Delta, or are there any military uh, airfields out there that would fall under like a Class Charlie or be as busy as a Charlie, or are they all pretty much Deltas?
That is actually a that's a really good question. So
If
from
you
all the
know, I mean,
places I've
if
been
you're
to,
not
and from
aware,
what
it's
my
cool.
understanding is we're all class deltas. Now that
Okay.
that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. That's something.
Yeah,
That's actually something
I
I
literally
want to
just
find
thought
out
about
now.
it.
That's good. Everywhere I've been has been a class delta, and everything that I know is
Dope.
a class delta. But I don't know about like the like Nellis. Nellis is very busy.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
know
good
if,
example.
and they're right next to McCarran. Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I'm
but
saying. Like, so for
very
like
much.
them, probably Tinker. I'm thinking of like some of these Air Force bases that are close to like your bigger metropolitan areas, right? Because that's obviously
Mm.
right there near OKC. You know, shout out the FAA. That's where the FAA headquarters is,
Yeah,
right? Um,
yeah. Shout out.
but yeah,
Always.
I'm sure there's probably a few San Antonio, Lackland. They're right there, San
Hmm.
Antonio. So yeah, ones like that. I just thought about that. I was like, man, I wonder if they're all deltas. But because yeah, you know where we sit.
That's a good question.
Um, yeah, because right where we sit, like my home airport, Newport News, we're literally sandwiched between two military like deltas. You got off to our west, literally directly to our west, we've got Felker, the Army airfield, and then obviously right to the east we've got Langley, and then here we sit like right in the middle. So we got three deltas, kind of like lined up side by side.
Right.
So a lot of activity, man. Our area gets super busy, man. But yeah, that's what's up. Man. So you kind of touched on it before, um, but the man. So with you guys as military like controllers, obviously you got some pretty lucrative opportunities in the civilian sector. So for guys like yourself, like your career, long term, like senior NCOs and leaders, man. Like, what do you think it is that kind of keeps people in? I mean, obviously there's the bonus, but is it strictly the bonus, or what do you think it actually is that keeps people in? Because obviously money talks.
Right. So right now they got rid of the bonus a few years ago. So right now retention is actually big issue in air traffic for us. However, the people that stay in are mainly ones who like myself. It's the TRICARE is like a big thing. Of course, medical insurance. There's the camaraderie, just being able to travel, just still being able to stay in and do deployment. So it's a it's a lot of different reasons that keep people in, or they just want to work military traffic instead of like the
Yeah.
commercial traffic. Because so like from flying into the airports, there's not like a lot of pattern work at the big airports. It's just like
Right.
you come in,
Straight in.
you do your little approach, and then you do right
Yeah.
instead of like the military bases. We have the overhead patterns, rectangular patterns. So like people actually want to stay into the military
Yeah.
side of air traffic and work that traffic as opposed to civilian traffic. So um, I think that's what makes them want to stay in. But the FAA is doing all they can to pull our controllers. They're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you just
Money
dropped
does
you just
talk.
dropped
So
a my bad. Um you just dropped a
look
knowledge
at
bomb on me. So hold on. So you mentioned something, a rectangular pattern, like different like pattern like entries, right? So and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this, but so how much is like the FAA governing, if at all, um, those procedures at your, these military, because obviously for us on the civilian side, right, you've got your standard, unless you're shooting like an instrument approach, you're flying a standard like VFR pattern, like everywhere in America, you're expected to enter that 45-degree, like downwind, fly your downwind base, and then final legs, right? So like when you mention those different patterns,
that.
is that like strictly kind of like military, or is that like a special something like kind of separate, like per the FAA?
So from my understanding, it's all strictly military. So yeah, like the rectangular pattern, of course, is just your closed traffic pattern. Where
Okay.
you guys go left or right, closed traffic, you just fly into the downwind, hit your upwind, crosswind, downwind, and come back base. then initials the overhead for the fighters, and then there's the pricing the simulated flame out patterns, the tactical arrivals where they spiral down, practicing landing in a deployment environment, basically a hostile area. So there's all type, but the FAA governs it to an extent of your pattern has to be a certain altitude above field elevation, basically, and then it's just like, and then your overhead pattern has to be 500 feet above your conventional pattern, which would be the rectangular pattern above your tankers. So it's always staggered to where tankers are lower, then your fighters are above that, and then you'll have your light aircraft below that, and then the helicopters
Mm-hmm.
below. So it's really a stack of four or five,
Yeah.
um, with the rest. But the FAA will just govern the altitude basically, and then your base regulation and the AFMAN just restrict it a little bit further.
Got you. Okay, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. It's really intriguing. I've spent all this time in the military, obviously as a non-flyer, and then all of my aviation experience being on the civilian world. So there's not a lot of like um, bleed over. All right, man. So we back. Had a little bit of technical difficulty, as you know. I didn't really talk about
Yeah.
this in the beginning, but out of town right now. Visiting family for the holidays. So internet signal is a
Oh, good.
little janky, man. But we gonna keep thugging it out. But yeah, I know. So I know that we left off, man. You were kind of breaking down the rectangular patterns, and we were kind of just talking about the differences there between kind of what we see as civilian GA pilots, more specifically compared to kind of what y'all are doing there in the military. Um, but yeah, so the next thing I wanted to ask you, man, is what was that training process like? And then also on top of that, if you're aware from people on the outside you talk to, how similar is that to your civilian counterparts? Kind of walk me through what that
So
training.
our training process. Oh yeah, my bad. So our training process is you come in day one. Basically, you're gonna do front load training, and front load training is just you learn all the local area knowledge. It's the LAK. You learn the runways, what airports you're servicing, all the frequencies, the common weather, the patterns, aircraft character. You learn everything. It's a thick packet, and it's depending on how much information in there. It's like depending on what location you go to. So that one takes a couple weeks, and then you learn air traffic equipment, which is another week or so. Just all the automation, how we communicate via the terminal voice switch to other facilities, and then you go into positions, right? So in the radar approach control, there's anywhere from three to base. Yeah, Seymour here, I had six positions to get certified in, or seven. And I went to Tyndall, and there's 13. So depending on where you go to, there's you have to get qualified in each and every position. Then the tower normally has three or four positions, which is just ground, data, local, and coordinator, and watch supervisor. So you hit the ground with front load training, learn equipment, and then they plug you depending on where there's openings in training. That's where they'll plug you in, and kind of how fast you're picking up air traffic. We don't put the people who are learning it kind of slow. We won't put them right into like approach, which is talking to the controlling the planes. We kind of slow roll them into it so that they learn that. But if you have a fast burner, we normally put them in a like approach or arrival position so they can control traffic. From my understanding, the FAA is kind of similar. However, once you're certified in each position in the FAA, you can work it by yourself. As opposed to for us, once you're at 3 level, you have to get your 5 before you control any traffic by yourself. And then
Mm,
once you go to a new facility, you're able to work once you're certified in each position.
okay. Wow. Yeah, so it seems like there's a lot of similarities because I had the opportunity to take a tower tour. I went up in the Newport News Airport Tower probably maybe about like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago now. And funny enough, man, most of those cats up there are actually former like Air Force guys, so they kind of spoke a lot of the same lingo, but obviously now kind of having that perspective, working for the FAA now. But yeah, learn some things, learn some terminology. I learned that these guys as far as you talked about like controlling like different like sectors, and obviously you've got like
Oh
ground,
yeah.
you know, your tower. They told me you call those things bones. Are they called bones? Little things that they slide across the. Yeah, they told us about
Yep,
bones
yep,
and
yep. The strip holders.
yeah, yeah, bones and like most people go by like their initials, right? Like most like air traffic controllers that go by initial, because the guy he told me what his actual name was, but he was like, yeah, but everybody just calls me. I guess that's how they sign in and sign out, is they like use like yeah like initials or whatever. So I was like, yeah, that was dope. And ironically enough, not to get too far off topic, but the one dude, man, that kind of led our tour, um Brandon is his name. I'll leave the rest of his name out, but Brandon, shout out to him, man. The funny thing about that, the night before the tour, I actually had flown. I actually had flown across country, um, up to like Chesterfield, it's a small airport just outside of Richmond's International's Class Charlie. Um, and I picked up VFR flight following, and so he's giving me like my clearance and all that, and he gives me this squad code that ends in like 666. So then like, he gives me my taxi instructions. I start the taxi and he like comes back like immediately as I start taxiing, like gives me like a new like squat code. And then I was like, yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of weird. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a different one. So I'm up in the tower the next day. I recognized the voice, right? I'm putting a face to the voice. I was like, hey man, by chance, were you working last night? He was like, yeah. I was like, yo, you're actually I flew up to Chesterfield. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, did I give you the 666 squad code? I was like, yeah. He was like, yo, my bad about that, man. I didn't mean to do that. That's why I had to like, change that for you. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. Like, I appreciate that. But yeah, I just thought about that like for some reason, man. But yeah, that opened my eyes like to so much, man. Being up there, and they were like mad chill, bro. Like we were up there. I thought they were gonna
Yeah,
kick
that's
us out
beautiful.
way like earlier than what they did, but they were like mad cool. Like they were like, hey man, if you know any other pilots that want to come up here and just want to learn, like they're more than welcome. Like anytime, like just coordinate it obviously through the proper channels. But thing like that I've been really wanting to ask you, man. So like how much and what kind of civilian traffic do you control on a regular basis? Like guys like me flying small general aviation aircraft, like how much interaction are you getting with those kind of airplanes?
So here at Seymour, in the radar sector, radar approach control, uh, it's about 80% of our traffic is civilian traffic. So, and with the Blue Line community that's at Johnson County that you flew into, all the DA-40s that you probably saw out there,
Yeah,
they are the majority of our traffic. So it's nonstop talking to them, all day, every day. They're flying, they're doing VFR flying, their first solos, trying to get their instrument ratings. They're doing a ton of communication with them, which is why we build such a strong relationship with that community. As far as the tower side, we talk to them. It's hit or miss. Um, it just depends on what airport they're landing at. But most of the time, radar talks to them, and they just get a transition through the Delta, which I think you guys call it transition too as pilots. Just coming through the
yeah,
Delta,
yeah,
but Rapcon radar will keep control of the aircraft and just call towers for approval to go through the Delta real quick. So Tower doesn't
yeah,
really talk to him much, but the radar side, all day, every day. Most of our
yeah,
traffic, the most fun traffic, um, is definitely the general aviation.
yeah.
How do you feel as a pilot out there seeing like so say like you're going into Johnson County and you're using the Unicom. I still don't understand Unicom honestly as a controller. So I see it on the radar, right, and I hear that they switched to Unicom, and I see 20 departures taking off and then a GA coming in for the arrival. So what is that like?
Man, it's so it's like what we kind of call like the wild wild west, if you will, man. So I'll be honest, like, coming from like like leaving out of Newport News, which is of course a class Delta, I'm talking to guys up in the tower, right? And we're getting our taxi, and departure clearances and all that. So that was my exposure to what aviation was. That was kind of all I knew to start with. So anytime like I'm going into Johnson County an airport like that when, basically it's just pilot control. Really, it's kind of what we call it. It's a pilot control field. So, you're calling your entries, you're calling your downwind base, your base to final turn and all that. So it just takes a lot of, people really doing what I can't really necessarily say what they're supposed to be doing because, they're not necessarily required, but it's, I don't know why you wouldn't want to, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that we say, like,
Right.
as pilots, like even though just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should, right? So, yeah,
Right.
with that, man, it can be a little nerve wracking. I'll be honest with you, but I would say like, especially like a place like that where they've got some pretty advanced, although they're all trainers, like they got some pretty advanced like aircraft. Um, people are like definitely like big on like communicating, and they're definitely up on like Unicom and kind of announcing their positions and things like that to other traffic in the area. So, but definitely got to have your head on a swivel for sure. Like um, it's just one of those things that as you're kind of building time, right, in the GA world, man, until you kind of get to that magic number. I don't know if you knew this or not from the controller side. So for us as pilots, unless you're coming out of the military, which they typically need like 750 hours, I believe, or if you are in a Part 141 FAA approved university aviation program where you need 1,000 hours to be ATP, airline transport pilot eligible. The rest of us, for everyone else that's not like in fall in one of those two categories, need 1,500, right? So I say all that to say, like, you kind of got to make it like, it's kind of a rite of passage, if you will, you know. GA compared to obviously your Part 121, commercial airline world 135, or shoot, even military, like, it's a lot more prone to, accidents because obviously you're dealing with much less experienced pilots, right? But, I think it's getting better. I think a lot of pilots don't even necessarily like
Right.
fully understand what they should be, how they should be utilizing that. But yeah, I think we're definitely getting better though, for sure. Um,
That's pretty cool, man. I've always wondered about the Unicom because I remember seeing like so just a little funny situation that happened at Johnson County actually. It was I had like an aircraft coming in runway 3, like 10-mile final. I was clearing he was IFR, instrument approach pilot. I was clearing
yeah,
him, and then I see a DA-40. I was guessing a DA-40 popping off 1-mile final, right? So then I break my guy off, and then I bring him back around, and then the same thing happens. It's just they're just launching the fleet, and the
wow,
dude's just
yeah,
like, "Hey, just request unit." He just kept telling me like, "I request to switch to Unicom." Me being a controller, I'm like, "No, like y'all about to go head to head. You're gonna crash. Like it's not gonna happen."
yeah,
So it finally worked out to where he landed. But then later on, I spoke to somebody from I can't remember if I spoke to one of the older controllers here or one of the pilots, but they were like, "Hey, they're like, just put Unicom and we'll handle that." And I was like, "All right." Like, I
So with that, man, so with that guy, I don't know if you can remember or not. I'm not sure how long ago that was. Was he in actual IMC, or was he shooting like a practice approach?
So it wasn't IMC, but it was low ceilings. I want to say the ceilings were probably 1,500, probably 14, 1,500 feet.
Okay.
But they were breaking out. They were breaking out. What was it? They were breaking out at probably like 5-mile final.
Oh,
So that was
okay.
the thing. But yeah. So the pilot was basically afterwards. Of course, I spoke to either the pilot or one of the other controllers, and they were like, "Hey, just switch them to Unicom because they're going to deconflict themselves." But just me being air
Yeah.
traffic, I'm like, if like, what if you get lost in frequency land? Just what if something happens? I couldn't have that on me. So
Yeah,
lesson
I feel
learned,
you.
but it looks crazy. Unicom looks wild.
In that situation, like I can tell you from like our side of things, what I would have done, not like armchair quarterback here at all, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud, just to kind of give you that perspective as a controller, right? What I would typically see happen, or what I would have thought
Mhm.
about doing myself was, okay, if you said that they were breaking out 5-mile final, right? If they're already breaking out, like they're well above men's, just cancel IFR and then land VFR, because then you switch over and then you're announcing, your position You know what I mean? To like local traffic anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I guess that was gonna be my question, right? So air traffic, like we can't prompt pilots to cancel IFR. So not we're not supposed to. I know it happens,
Yeah.
but we're
It
not
definitely
supposed
happens.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to do that. At least it, I don't think that's just an Air Force thing, but we're not supposed
Yeah,
to tell
y'all.
somebody to
Yeah,
cancel
what y'all will
IFR.
do is y'all just keep coming back saying report field in sight.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. We
Yeah,
try to
report
get
field in
y'all to get
sight.
there.
Report field in sight. Like, yeah, we'll advise. We'll advise.
Hey, that's normally when we're getting scraped off. Like, like
Yeah.
it's just like it's busy. It's like we trying to
Yeah.
track one less plane.
You
But
know
yeah,
what? I'm gonna go back. I record a lot of my flight. I'm gonna go back. There's one particular flight I know for sure where it was a female control. I was flying into Chesterfield right outside of a small airport just outside of Richmond's Class Charlie. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she basically said everything she could say without like, hey, like, are you done? Basically, are you done
yeah.
with IFR now? Like, can you like it's like clearing like, it's clearing a mile or clearing 10 miles. Like, what are you doing? And I was just like, all right, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and cancel IFR, please. She's like, all right, yep, cancel IFR, squawk VFR, blah, 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 switch to advisory. All right, cool, thanks.
That's it.
But she definitely would like encourage me to go ahead and like, you know what I mean? You just made me think about that.
Yeah. That I
Um,
mean, that's definitely something that happens.
yeah.
It is. It is.
So let me ask you this, man. What any emergencies that you can talk about or care to talk about that you've kind of helped mitigate or that you've dealt with and emergencies you've handled?
There's been a lot, man. So like our so Robbins was probably the majority. Robbins is a depot base. Not exactly sure what depot stands for, but it's just a maintenance base where they send all the broken planes to you. So it's like F-15s there, C-130s. But the plane's broken, they'll fix a part, they fly it, and they try to break it again just to make sure like the functionality check. They came back emergencies nonstop, whether that's hydraulic failures on there, the bleed air cautions, like all the other emergencies. Those are just the standard ones that we deal with. Or like landing gears, the landing gears failing to come out or failing to retract.
Yeah,
Um, the big ones though, which so air traffic, there's a watch supervisor position, which you're overseeing all the floor, all the operations while you're on that, while you're in that position, right? So, I wasn't controlling the traffic, but I was there when it happened to where a plane. Actually, there's been a couple plane crashes, but one of our civilians actually got in an aircraft into like a field in Florida, and actually saved his life, which big emergency, huge emergency, right? Because it was like
yeah,
a complete engine failure. But he's just like, all right, here's the next airport. He cleared all the traffic out of the way, sterilized the route, and then got the aircraft down there. So that was cool. But I don't have any specifically big ones that I worked besides just our standard emergencies, which is it's a daily thing for us
right.
with the military aircraft.
I got you. Um, so what would you say is your biggest pet peeve when communicating with pilots? What do pilots do that's like what's like the most annoying thing like that? Just what I mean, gets controllers like just worked up.
Oh man. I guess the most annoying thing is talking too much when it's busy. So like there's the times where pilots and controllers like we have conversations. It's slow, like you can tell it's slow. So we're talking back and forth.
Yeah.
But there's so many times where they hear me keying up time after time after time, and a pilot will give me 30-second transmission. It messes up my like I'm just like I didn't need
Yeah.
all this information, right? And I'm just like I'm watching you on radar. They're
Yeah, yeah.
like I took radar on you a while ago. They're like, yeah, this is me again. I'm right here. I still want this approach, this landing. Then I'm gonna go do this
Right.
approach, this, and I'm like, come on. So that's probably the biggest pet peeve.
so
What's yours for
so
air
with that
traffic?
being so with that being said, do you prefer like a cold call, just like, hey, approach Cessna 123, Alpha Bravo, and then you come back 123 Alpha Bravo, go ahead. Like, would you prefer the cold call or would because I've kind of heard it both ways. Like, hey, like cold call just to, make sure they're not busy. But then I've also heard like, hey, say what you need to say so you don't jam up the frequency.
I like the cold call. I mean, but just it is a personal preference. Me personally, I like the cold call. I never heard it called that, but that's good. I like that one a little better just because it's just like you key up and then I get like right back to you like as soon as I can. Because normally when a plane calls, we'll just like write the call sign down on the strip. Um, and unless we already have the strip, we'll just identify that we talked to that aircraft. But um, if if an aircraft calls up and says a whole lot, they don't know they're over keying somebody else like majority of the time because we key up.
Mm,
Like here we have 6 or 7 different frequencies keyed up, right? So an aircraft will
yeah,
call up on the north sector or the arrival sector. They'll call up on that frequency. They can't tell they're over keying anyone, but they literally just blanked out an entire like another aircraft's
yeah,
transmission that I
yeah.
that I actually might need where I'm doing some sequencing or something. So just a quick checkup for me is good. Anybody else
Got
might
you.
want all the information, but I like the quick checkup.
Yeah, we call that stepping on each other. Like when you
Yep.
say overkill, we
Yep.
call that like we call that like yeah man, like you'll know like oh okay like I just completely stepped on this guy like my bad.
Yep. But I can't even blame the pilots for it though, because they're on a completely different frequency. Like like I said,
Oh
we have
yeah,
about
I see what you.
yeah we have about 6 frequencies keyed up. So one will call it
Yeah,
like they may be listening for a second before they key up, and then they'll key up and do a long transmission, but they're not aware
yeah,
that there's another aircraft talking on a different frequency yet keyed up.
right.
So
Yeah, we got
so
us
that's
as
it.
pilots, man. We're pretty like uh focused on ourselves at times. So I think we need to do a better job. We can definitely do a better job of remembering. There's a lot more of us than what there is y'all.
Oh
So
yeah.
I guess yeah, I'll try to keep that in mind with the cold calls. I get kind of bad about that because I'm trying to just get out of the way. Hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm at. This is what I want to do, and I try to like get out of the way. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's what's up. That's good though. Sometimes it's a case by case. I guess like when it's slow again, like I said, if it's super slow, I love when I get all the information at one time, just get it out
Yeah,
the way. But when it's busy, but you guys can't tell it's busy all the time, or pilots can't.
right.
Yeah, when it's busy, I just prefer like a quick check in, real quick, and I'll get back to you
Yeah,
unless it's like an emergency situation.
yeah. One other quick question, man, because I did actually I've been thinking about this since the other night. I was actually doing a safety pilot flight for my old instrument instructor. He was getting his approaches and his holds in to get his instrument, currency. So I'm sitting safety pilot, but he was, obviously flying the approach. I'm on the radio, handling the radio calls, right? And
Hmm.
I kind of like I recorded because I do a lot of like reflection on a lot of my flights just to learn and get better and stuff like that. But one thing that I did that I noticed that I said to the controller, he didn't like, or I think was it the female at the time? Either way, I don't remember if I switched. Who was it? No, it was when approach had handed me off to tower, right? So like they vectored me like to final, and then they're like, all right, go over to tower, Newport News Tower 1187, have a good night. So I go over to tower, I check in tower. This is who I am. Do y'all like if we're making kind of that initial call from approach over to tower, like do I need to like do y'all like it if I'm giving like my update of like my position, or do you just prefer me to say, hey, 3 Alpha Bravo, ILS runway 5, or
Oh,
do I need
definitely
to
give your
say like
yeah, give your position, please.
give the okay?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I've seen
definitely.
that kind of both ways too, where they're like, hey, like obviously, like you got handed off from approach, like we know where you're at. Don't clog the radios. Like say what you need to say. Because I actually, no kidding, said my altitude, where the position. Like I just passed like whatever fix, inbound on the. I think we were doing an RNAV at that point. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I definitely say call in with your position on that one. I'm big on like the tapes, right? Because like certain situations happen in aviation where the tapes will save your life, save your career, whatever the case may be.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so if a pilot's going to call up and tell me they're at this fixing position, and then I come back and I confirm it, it's going to help me with my sequence and everything. But if I make a mistake on that, then that's going to come back on me and not fault the pilot instead. So
right,
I take a little bit of blame for that. So I'd rather the pilot tell me where they're at, and that way I could. It also
yeah,
just helps my situational awareness too, because like yeah, like approach switching to me, but I may have gotten sidetracked with a couple other planes off to the other end of the runway. And then when you call up and you tell
Right.
me where you're at, I'm like, oh, I need to adjust my sequence real quick. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah.
uh,
Have you you just made me think about something, man. I kind of got another like little funny story, but have you ever forgotten about like an airplane? Has that ever happened where you're
oh,
like, oh,
100%. Yeah. Not proud of it, but I definitely did. But
yeah,
so I guess the good thing was that they were altitude deconflicted from all the other traffic in my airspace. It's
mm,
actually I'll show the story. It happened at Tyndall in Florida. So
mm,
we had up to 23,000 feet there in the radar approach control. Um, and our automation, we could see like data tags. So we see. Did you see it when you were the automation on the scope? It shows like your call sign, type aircraft, the airspeed,
yeah,
and any
yeah,
other information. Okay, cool. So I accidentally dropped that tag off because you could drop the tag, you could delete the tag and just show your
mm,
beacon code. So I dropped the tag on accident because I meant to drop a center altitude one. Now he is at like 30,000. Dropped that tag. Started talking to all these other planes. Just doing my logs, everything like that. And then I looked down at the bones, right at the flight progress strip. Oh, yeah, where's this plane at? And then I checked
yeah,
back. He's like almost in Tallahassee airspace, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I forgot about him for a few minutes actually. So yeah, that happened. That happened. Thankfully, he was altitude. He is the only one at that altitude. Thankfully,
yeah.
yeah.
So the reason why I ask is because early on in my training, when I was going for my private pilot license, I was actually coming back. I think this was my first solo cross country, and I'm like just outside of our class Delta, like Newport News airspace. Of course, I've got the ATIS, like, hey, I'm reporting, I got information, blah, blah, blah. 10 miles to the south, inbound full stop, that whole deal, right? And they're like, okay, hold, and they gave me the position to hold 360s. Basically, I'm just busting 360s, like, right? So at first, I'm like, okay, no big deal, like deconflict, because I can hear all the chatter like on Freak, right? Like it's busy. Like we got like, cause we share our like airport. We've got commercial like regional like airlines or whatever, right? Plus all of our military, the flight school, like it's busy. So I'm like, no big deal. 2, 3 minutes go by, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm at like almost 15 minutes, bro, and I'm still just like busting 360s like out over the James River. So I just come back. I'm like, hey, tower, like, whatever plane I'm flying. I'm like, hey, did you still want me to like keep doing? And the girl comes up. She's like, oh, yeah. She like stuttered, like, and it was like
Mm.
obvious, like she forgot I was out there. You know what I'm saying? She's like, oh yeah, clear runway, blah blah blah, like clear to land. I'm just like, all right, thank you, like, you know what
Yeah,
I
sorry.
mean? I was just like, yo, this thing definitely forgot that I was out here.
Yeah, it definitely happens. It happens. Not a lot, not a lot. We're not happy
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. I'm
It's always
like,
crazy because, like I said, it's just a bunch of other stuff happens. Like you hear the chatter,
yeah,
but a bunch of aircraft will call up, a bunch of different pilots, different requests, and then like you make your sequence, you make your plan, and then you deconflict. Like I said, like they deconflicted you by putting you in holding. They weren't gonna put anybody else there, but
right.
they got to all the other stuff and then just completely forgot about it. So it happens.
Yeah,
It's not it's something we have to improve on, I guess. But I don't
yeah.
know.
Do you get? Is it frustrating as a controller when you give like a traffic advisory to a pilot, like, hey, you've got this whatever aircraft at your 11 o'clock, 5 miles, and the pilot's just like, yep, negative contact, and you're like waiting, you're waiting for the pilot to come back to be like, yep, traffic in sight. Is that like annoying? Like,
Not really. Sometimes it can be, but I also have to think about it. Like you guys are sometimes 500,000 feet apart when as pilots, right? It's like a big distance sometimes. But so like on our display, it looks super close to where I'm like, this is obvious. Like
right,
you're going to see this plane, you know. But
right,
we never consider the fact that you may be flying into the sun. You may be in a cloud deck. There may be clouds between you guys. So that is
right,
that's
yeah.
we get frustrated by it. Don't get me wrong, but we also know that.
'Cause-
That there's a lot more we need to take into consideration. Like we're well
yeah,
aware of
that's
this. In
why
the
I
moment,
asked.
we're like, there's no way you don't see
Yeah,
this.
and that's why I ask because you can kind of tell when they're frustrated, like, "Hey, this plane's at you," blah blah blah. I'm just like, "Yeah, negative contact," like looking for traffic, And then finally, you're just like, but I can feel the tension. I'm just like, man, like, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna say like traffic in sight because I'm like, yo, I don't see this dude. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like, especially
right.
during the day. Like at night, obviously, it's a lot easier to spot traffic, but during the day, dude, sometimes it's hard. If it's hazy at all, like sometimes it's hard to spot other airplanes in the air. Like you said on your screen, it looks like we're like dumb close, but like in reality,
Yep.
I'm like, I might be close to this guy, but I cannot see him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, on the screen, all we see is it's just like on our screen, we depict precipitation, but not clouds. So it'd be like
Right.
it looks completely clear on our screen, and we're just like, there's no way you don't see this plane. But we
Yeah.
know in our mind that it's a possibility you don't see him. But at the moment, we're
Right.
like, just report him in sight. Of course,
Yeah,
it
just
happens.
keep in mind
It happens.
if he's not coming back, like, hey, traffic in sight, like that's because we really can't see him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Have you gotten like a real bad traffic call, like something that's complete opposite? Like somebody says 9 o'clock and the traffic's at your 3 o'clock.
Oh no, that's never happened. No,
Okay, good.
that,
That's good.
no, yeah. Thankfully, no. That's man. We got some legit controllers like over there at Newport News, man. So
That's good.
like, yeah. Once again, shout out to them. But no, I never had that. That would be interesting though.
Okay.
So man, another good question. A question I really been wanting to ask you, man. So, what is the protocol for any civilian aircraft landing on base, whether that be emergency or non-emergency?
Non-emergency, that just takes coordination through the base. Of course, like PA, security forces, the wing commander. I'm not really sure when a non-emergency will want to land here.
Yeah,
Besides, they can do approaches here. But as
like a
far as
low
like,
approach.
yeah, they just can't, yeah, just can't touch the runway. Like those are fine. People do that all the time, and that actually helps us with our training for traffic. But as far as when an emergency lands here, we had a older guy who was a instructor pilot that was trying to land at Wayne Exec a couple miles to the north. He landed here on accident, and that is just that's it's just crazy. Security forces goes out there, puts them on their
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
They search the aircraft. Canines come out. It's just all the stuff you don't want to happen
yeah.
when it's an accident. But when it's an emergency, kind of the same thing will happen, but it'll be a little less
Mhm.
tense instead
Right,
of an
right.
accident. Yeah, instead of accident landing, we'll just get them the care they need, but still get searched.
Yeah, man. I when I was at Seymour, um, back in 2016, I was coming back from a TDY. I was out in Alaska. We did a red flag out there, and we got back like super late at night, and the tower I guess was already closed. But obviously we were coming back from the trip, so we landed. Needless to say, long story short, we were met by like security forces. We couldn't like get off the plane for a while. Like we had to sit there. Security
What?
forces like surrounded the airplane. Like so again, obviously I'm in the back, so I didn't hear what was going on up front. But needless to say, like I guess they didn't follow whatever protocol was supposed to happen prior to no kidding because it was a chartered like civilian chartered jet.
Right.
It wasn't a gray tail, so like yeah, we no kidding landed on at Seymour, man, and yeah, that was an interesting experience. I don't know what happened to those pilots, but I was like, dang, like how does that even happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty crazy because we're not no plane's allowed to land here unless it's just an emergency and our recall can't get back in time because we have a
right,
60-minute recall, right? But anytime we have scheduled operations, especially a return and deployment or a TDY, we'll have the tower
yeah,
manned, 100% airfield manned. So I don't know how that happened. Maybe that's what caused the rule to change to how it is now, to where we will have people postured all the time just in case somebody comes in,
okay,
but that should not have happened.
yeah,
Is what I'm getting at.
that was the word we got, but I can
That
tell you
shouldn't have
100%
happened.
certainty. I remember looking out the window and there were the security forces with the dogs like outside. They were like had flashlights. They're just basically looking at us like, yo, who are y'all? And
Yeah,
we're a plane full of like active duty, you know what I mean, service members. So it
shouldn't
was
have happened.
wild.
Were the
Yeah,
was the airfield lighting on at all? Do you remember no taxiway lights and runway lights? It's probably dark.
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I don't remember. I
I don't
just
blame you.
know. I just know that when because it was again this was like late at night.
Right.
I just know that like when we got there, like the cops were there and we couldn't get off for a while. So they kind of sorted everything out, and then they were like, "Okay, yeah, cool. Like y'all are,
And
Oh yeah,
somebody
that's
dropped the
crazy,
ball on
man.
that one. Somebody
Yeah.
dropped the ball on that. That's what that is. Yeah.
So let's see here. So we kind of talked about it already. I was going to ask you: is the tower RAPCON dynamic similar to approach and departure and tower in the civilian FAA? But I guess one thing I wanted to say with that though, like how like are you like talk? You're talking to these guys fairly often, I would imagine. Like in your case, are y'all talking to like Raleigh approach and departure, like fairly often, handing guys off?
Yep. So on the right, talk to him nonstop, especially because we share that airport, the Johnson County. That Raleigh controls them into one runway, we control them into the other one,
Oh,
into and out
okay.
of the other. Yeah. So we got runway three arrivals and two on departures, and then vice versa for Raleigh. So we talk to them a lot. Cherry Point is adjacent to us also. Talk to them a lot from radar. Then
Yeah.
Wilmington, Fayetteville, and Center. But as far as towers concerned, we only talk to Washington Center basically when radar approach control gets closed.
Yeah.
Um, which happens. Our equipment went out a few times, and then we had to. Our equipment went out for radar, like our scopes went out and our frequencies, everything, and then tower just ended up launching the fighters, going straight to center, and then when they came back, they came straight to tower from Washington Center. But we
Okay.
communicate often.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
crazy.
communicate
Um,
very often.
so to switch gears a little bit, man. Because obviously multitasking, like that goes without saying, right? Your ability to multitask, kind of like with us doing what we do, is kind of a given. But outside of multitasking, what would you say in your experience is a necessary, skill for someone to possess if they wanted to pursue, like, being a air traffic controller as a career?
Uh, I would say adaptability definitely is one, because everything's planned. You have to be able to adjust your sequence. So there's adaptability, there's patience, um, yeah, and then resilience. As much as I hate saying that word, resilience is definitely once you you get
Yeah,
that drilled into it so much. But
yeah,
so just adapting to the situations, whether that's the weather, the runway changes, the equipment, whether there's training controllers, training pilots. Adaptability is probably the biggest one that I can say for me, and then patience, of course, because we're training. Everyone's training. People are actually like pilots' lives are actually in our hands, right?
right.
And there's souls on board too, on a lot of these planes. So being patient is definitely key. It never helps when pilots get frustrated with us or we get frustrated with pilots. I've never seen it one time happen to where it made a situation better. Like not once.
Yeah,
Like
never.
either way it goes, it's a delay. Either way it goes, so it's not good.
Yeah,
Um, Yep, and then just resilience, because just knowing you're going to make mistakes when you're air traffic. Um, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you just have to learn from it. You have to bounce back and just be better, and hope you don't make the same mistake over and over. But um, sometimes they're not your fault. Sometimes they are your fault. You have to learn how to work with people, even if you don't like those people right next. Learn how to work with them, just for the safety of air traffic, of aviation. So those are the three big things for me. Is what I would say.
mm, dang. So, yeah, those are all like definitely really good. Yeah, really, really good points, man. I just lost my train of thought. I'll come
My
back
bad,
to
I
it. We'll
talked for a
circle
little
back.
bit.
Huh?
I said my bad. I probably talked for a little bit too long.
No, no, no. You're good.
Nah,
I had it,
I'm
and
just
then I
playing.
just I completely like spaced out, man. Um, but no. So, with the perspective that you have now, like, would you recommend a military career in ATC to a young person as opposed to taking the more traditional, if you will, FAA route?
1,000,000%. I might be a little biased by it though, just because again the camaraderie, like you and I met in the military. It's just the friendships you form in the
Yeah,
military, plus a little bit of travel, and then you see a different side of air traffic that you may not see when you get into the FAA. Like you might not talk to a single military aircraft when you go to the FAA, but You'll get to see what air traffic is from the Air Force side at least. Get some deployments under your belt. Um, yeah, just meeting people, traveling, seeing air traffic this way, and then you're a lot more marketable, and then you have a lot of experience going into it when you go into the FAA, as opposed to just coming off the street.
Yeah.
I'll never, yeah, I'll never tell somebody not to just get picked up. If you can
Right.
just go
Right.
straight off the street, it just might be a little more challenging trying to
Right.
learn it. I don't know how. I don't know how their training program is for the off the street bids, but ours is very structured, of course, using the
Hmm.
CFETP and then the QTPs, the JQSs. It's like like day one all the way through to get you qualified.
Right. Right.
You're gonna have a trainer attached to you, basically. So
Hmm.
I'd highly suggest the Air Force first. Not necessarily a 6 year enlistment if that's not what you want to do, but at least four.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So with that, like, I mean, because obviously you're highly employable, like you said, given your experience, and all the years that you've been doing what you're doing. Is there any, if you decide to make that jump once you hang it up for good with the military, you retire from active duty? Uh, is there any like sort of FA specific training that you're gonna have to go do, whether it be through Oklahoma City, or do they take your military experience, kind of like a military pilot, and say, okay, you've got this many years controlling military traffic, you're good. We're gonna send you to, probably not Atlanta, but
Right, right,
Wilmington, or you know what I'm saying,
right,
something like Nashville or something like that.
right. They do. They have the FA has different bids, non-prior experience bids, which if you have prior experience, you can still apply for these bids. But like non-prior experience bids, it's just like the off the street hire is what we call it. Just people who
Okay.
don't have air traffic, so anybody can apply for that one, right? But we can apply for it too as controllers. But then you have the prior experience bid, and that's where that comes into play for us. We'll send all of our qualifications. That we have, all the bases we've been to, all the SEIs, and then sometimes they'll put you at a different facility, like a level 8, 9, 10. I'm not exactly sure how the levels work, but I know it's like the busier ones. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely plays a big part into it. Like for example, like I have a PAR, right? The precision approach radars is pretty antiquated, but they still use it at a couple bases. But I put that on my FA application. Then I had tower radar, all the other stuff, and they gave me like Alaska, Hawaii, like Guam as locations, which busier facilities, but just the ones that had those special approaches, special qualification requirements. So
Yeah.
it helps out a lot. And also, a lot of people get, depending on what facility you were in the military, a lot have gotten like um, Atlanta Tracon, Denver Center, which is a super busy,
Yeah.
super busy center, Jacksonville
Yeah.
Center, Washington Center. Like they're
Yeah.
getting them.
All the
Right.
centers are gonna be pretty busy.
Yeah. The even with the prior experience and non-prior experience, so they'll send you to Oklahoma City. To do like the tower or radar training. I don't know how long that is, but they do
Yeah.
sometimes. They'll still send you there.
Man, does it ever trip you out? Like, do you ever just kind of catch yourself sometimes when you're up there in the tower, like, man, this is crazy. I never would have thought in a million years I would be doing this. Like, do you ever have like moments where you just kind of got to have that like pinch, I got to pinch myself moment? I know I have that like flying. So I could imagine like you, man, controlling all this traffic, talking to these pilots and, y'all's controllers, man. It's almost like not even almost, it is like, phraseology. It's like the aviation phraseology is a separate language, man. And y'all obviously speak it better than anyone and speak it fast. So, like, are you ever like, man, I cannot believe I'm doing this?
Yeah, a lot actually. The craziest part is like when it is super busy, you kind of just get in that zone, but you don't even realize what you're doing. You're just speaking it, just controlling. And then at the end of it, I'm like, I don't know how that just happened, but like, man, I can't believe can't believe I'm
Yeah,
doing it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
incredible.
Because I
It's
know,
pretty
like, I
nice.
know what you mean. Like, I know for me, man, if I ever get in that zone, I give a good read back, and I hit him with that "see ya" at the end. You know how pilots hit you with that "see ya." Yeah,
Yes, I love it. I
I'm like, yo,
love
I
it.
just killed that. They're like, all right, yeah, over to departure. Like, yep, our over departure. See ya.
Yeah, I love it. I love. Hey, we love it. We love it. We
Yeah,
love it.
that's what's up.
Yeah. So how does it feel flying? That's what I wanted to know. How does it feel being actually flying, being qualified IFR, VFR?
Yeah, man, it's wild, bro. Like, it's one of those things. I always knew that I wanted to fly, man. I always wanted to be a pilot, man. From being a young boy, man, I was always fascinated by it. But again, especially in our community, right? Like that's not
Mm-hmm.
something that's highly talked about or encouraged, and not because it's obviously because it's not a negative thing, but it's almost like exposure is everything, right?
Right.
So just not really being exposed to it. Obviously, I don't have any pilots in my family or anyone that was close to me, but joining the Air Force and then being, AFE, doing what I'm doing in the Air Force. I'm around pilots all day, every day. Getting my first and only incentive flight when I was out there at Seymour. Man, that's kind of probably what really, really did it for me.
Right.
And but I just kind of knew, like, man, this is something I want to do. But as you may or may not know, especially in the civilian world, it can be kind of pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So I just finally got to a point, in my life where, I was, I would say, mentally mature enough, and had a decent little nest egg to where I was able to kind of make some things happen. So just went
Good
for it,
stuff.
man. But never look back, man. I actually, I'll back up, and I've told this story before. I got a friend of mine, man, that was at my last duty station. I was out at Whiteman in Missouri, just outside
Mm-hmm.
of KC, man. My buddy Andy, he actually he was AFE. I say recently, but probably within the last year or two, commissioned and went to pilot training. Man, this dude's going to be flying B2s here
That's
shortly. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, man. So yeah, went from
That's
senior
crazy.
airman, man, to now this cat's gonna be flying B2s. But I bring him up because he actually was the one who exposed me to GA. His dad, I believe, was like a FedEx pilot, and they belonged to a flying club out there in KC, where they had a bunch of like small, trainer aircraft. But yep, took me up in a little Piper Archer, sat in the right seat, and yeah, man, I was hooked from that moment. I was like,
Yeah.
yep, that's what I'm gonna do, man. And then right after that, I ended up PCSing from there to Langley. So once I got to Langley, got settled in, I started taking lessons, man. Took my discovery flight and never looked back. So the first guy I had on here, I don't know if you had a chance to peep episode 1, yeah, with
Oh
Dave.
yeah.
Yep,
I
yeah, that was
watched
my
it.
instructor, man. And yeah, so shout out to him. But yeah, never look back, man. And just gonna keep going. So I'll be starting a commercial here in about 3 weeks.
Let's
So
go. Okay.
yeah, man. So time to
Yeah.
get to the money, man. But
Big
yeah,
S.
that's gonna be the
What made you
goals.
choose what made you choose fixed wing over rotary? Or do you have any want to learn rotary later? Or it's just all fixed
I'll
wing?
be honest, man. Not really. And it's funny
Okay.
because a lot of pilots will like they'll like warn you and be like, "Man, I'm just telling you, like once you go and fly helicopters, you're never gonna want to look back." I don't know if that'd be the case for me. I have been on helicopters as a passenger. Granted, I've never flown one. I've
Hmm.
never been at the controls of a helicopter, but for me personally, I just saw more potential for growth in terms of employment and a long,
Right.
career with fixed wing, right? So whether that be, 121 with the airlines
Yeah.
or 135, in the private, kind of corporate industry, that's kind of more my speed.
I
So
get that.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm
Cool,
at with
cool. I
that,
get
man.
that.
But shout out to those dudes because I mean, yeah, it's dope. Like the views are pretty hard to beat. I will say that. Like the views of flying helicopters is pretty hard to beat. But yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. I just they scare me. I'm gonna be honest with you too. If I'm just
Yeah.
keeping it like 100, like for real, like they scare me, man. Like I can if I lose my engine in my airplane, man, I can glide that bad boy. You know what I'm saying? Those
Right.
helicopters, man. They tend to
Yeah.
fall like rocks, man.
Just
But
spin out of
yeah,
control a
man.
little bit.
No, for real. So um, so what's next for you, man?
So next, I think I'm just trying to apply for air traffic control jobs for retirement. Actually, there's a couple. trying to get lined up. I started web development, but I had to put that on pause a little bit just because of 5 kids, right? So just sports and their school and their events, whatever the talent shows. So I put that on pause. So
Okay.
I'll do air traffic control when I'm done with this, but I still do want to pursue web development at the same time as like a side job. Be at Seymour for another 2 to 3 years probably, and then it's just wherever the Air Force moves me after that, and retire 2028. Hopefully, get a
Yeah.
GS job.
Yeah. Are you hoping to stay like CONUS, like stateside, or would you be open to going overseas?
Hoping to stay Conus, just because so my dad's a little older. My
Okay.
mom's gonna be here. I'm a big family guy, so just trying
Okay.
to stay close so they don't have to
Yeah.
travel overseas, or I don't have to travel
Yeah.
back this way. I love
Yeah.
overseas though. I do love it. But yeah, it's close.
Get you a TDY or something, and then just come right back.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, I'll take a couple of weeks
Yeah, I got you.
overseas. Yeah, I
I
can't do a
got
whole
you.
nother year.
Okay. Well, yeah, man. So that's pretty much the main points that I wanted to hit on with you tonight. But now to kind of switch gears again, man. This is kind of where we get to the fun part to wrap this up, where I call this segment the clear for the option. So I figured as a controller, maybe
I like
figured
it.
figured as a controller, maybe you would appreciate that, man. So kind of clear for the option. This is kind of a little quick compare contrast, maybe like a small question, but where you kind of just give me the answer that comes to mind. You can give a explanation as to why, but if you don't feel like it, you don't have to. But just kind of something for anybody that's watching this to kind of get to know you and get your take on things and then your thought process, man. But yeah, so we'll switch roles here, man. I'll be the controller and you kind of be the pilot. I'll let you know that you're clear for the option.
I
But
like it. I like it.
so Tower or Rapcon?
Rapcon.
Rapcon.
Yeah, just where I
Okay.
was raised at.
Yeah. VFR or IFR?
Ooh, VFR.
VFR. I gotta ask why.
As far as controlling VFR, IFR, because
Yeah.
just because VFR see in the void, it's just like a lot more.
Yeah.
You just have a lot. It's a lot more
Yeah.
leeway. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But
cool.
you got to
I
think though. But for IFR, these guys are, probably a little bit more experienced, right?
mhm.
And probably have a little bit more, I don't know, they're just more experienced.
A lot of the IFR pilots that I've dealt with, both military and on the civilian side, the IFR ones, that's where the arrogance starts to kick in, also, in my opinion. So it's kind of
Man, pilots arrogant? Come on, man.
he said, "Come on, controller." Hey, we're arrogant too, so I know,
Yeah.
but like yeah, like VFR pilots, they're willing to do whatever you want. They're nice.
Yeah.
They're always in a good mood. It seems like they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get out the way for all these planes. IFR aircraft. You try to tell them like vector out of the way because you're sequencing somebody. They're like, we got here first.
Yeah.
No, don't like doesn't matter. You're going 200 knots slower. They're like, we want to be first. I'm like, all
Right.
right, all right, man. So I'll take VFR. I'll take VFR.
VFR. That's what's up. Fighters or heavies?
Ooh, that's good. That's a good question. I say fighters just because wake turbulence is out of the window,
Mm,
out of the picture. I have a wake turbulence
that's
question
uh
after
that's
this
actually
too.
that's actually a really good answer. Wow. Okay. I feel that. What's your favorite airplane?
That
Like
15.
as far as like looks, like not necessarily from a controller aspect, but like what's like your favorite airplane like aesthetically?
Ooh, aesthetically, it's still military. The C-17 is my favorite of all time. I don't
Really?
know why. Yeah, I don't know why. I love C-17s. Yeah, I don't know what it is about them. They're
Okay.
legit. They're
I
just
was not expecting you to
yeah.
say that, but
They
I
probably the ones.
respect it.
But I definitely like on the outside the military. I'd say uh, I like the Honda jets look legit, but probably a Hawker. Hawker jet's probably number
Hawkers a
one.
go too. Yeah.
Yeah, Hawker's
Okay.
probably number one actually. Yeah.
Okay.
What about yours?
Like military, I would say military B2 all day.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
aesthetically, like it's got to be the B2.
Okay.
And then I would say civilian, man. I like the G550, the Gulfstream.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm tripping. You said aesthetically. F-22. My bad. Yeah,
F-22,
it's
yeah,
yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah,
dope
yeah.
too.
Yeah, that looks fire. But yeah, definitely the Hawker for the outside.
That's what's up. Um, what's your favorite duty assignment?
Ooh, Osan.
Oh,
Osan, Korea. Either Osan or Greenland. This one's tough. I was at Thule also, and Thule that was fun.
where's that?
Greenland.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, it's crazy. Get to the northern lights. There's polar bears.
Wow.
Very low
Was
pace,
that a
but
year?
everybody was super close knit. Yeah, a year.
Yeah, you're remote.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
man, y'all get those
Osan's
dope,
just.
y'all get those dope remote tours, man. Cause I knew somebody that did a year in lodges.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Portugal.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
controllers,
my
y'all get
boy's
those
going
good
there
remote
too.
assignments, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, that one's good. It's hard to choose for me between Osan and Greenland. I'm trying to pick. Probably Osan. I'll say Osan.
No son,
Yeah,
say less. I got you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
say less. Uh, so what's the worst thing about ATC?
Uh, that's a good question. Worst thing about ATC, um, it's probably just it's probably just all the regs we have to dig into, which I'm sure flying is like the same thing, but we reference so many regs. Um, I have one for this one. Training. I'll say it. Yeah, it's training.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
you
I'll probably
sound hey,
stay
you
true
sound
on
like
that
you
one.
may be an Air Force veteran, man.
Yeah,
Resiliency and training.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's so terrible. I'm trying to get
Yeah,
out of that one, but
no, but that's hey, I
man,
feel that though.
training is
As
the
far as
worst
now, when you
part.
say that,
But
you're meaning more specifically like you having to train, like training the new guys, like they're like the OJT.
no, going through training.
Oh, going.
Like
Oh,
me,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Because so every single base we go to, we have to go all the way back through training. You have to get
Mm,
recertified in each position. You got to learn the airspace. It's a lot faster when you go to other bases because you already have a
right,
foundation. But
right.
just going back in there, like having somebody watch you and overkey you again, it's like I know what I'm doing, kind
Yeah,
of, but just relearning it all is that's yeah, that's the worst part is going through training for
yeah.
sure. The 3 level as a 5. Huh?
How much changed, if any? You just made me think about this. So when you left, since you were, obviously we were at Seymour together back in the day. Was it
Mhm.
easy coming back this time, given that you had already worked that facility? Did you know everything, or have a lot of things changed?
Oh, it was so easy. It actually the airspace, like the amount of sectors we had decreased. It just combined in a one pretty much, so it was super easy to come
Okay,
back. Um, and a lot of controllers will tell you this too. You still
okay.
there? Hey, your picture's
Do
frozen.
what now?
Check, check. Okay, you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, it was frozen. My bad. Um, So like a lot of controllers will tell you the first base you train at and you learn, you'll never forget it. And that was Seymour for me. So I still remembered the frequencies when I came back. I remembered the airspace, the altitudes, the adjacent
Yeah,
facilities. So I just came back and it was just like it was right back into it. So it's good. A lot
yeah.
changed
That's what's
still,
up.
but
That's.
yeah.
I know that had to be a good feeling, like in a way. You know what I mean? Kind of just, even though the people might be different, but like you're in a familiar situation.
Yeah, I love this. That's why I picked him back here. Yeah,
Yeah.
how do you guys know? How do you guys, as pilots, remember your call sign? Because it's just off the tail number, right?
Yeah, it's tail number. It's placarded. They're all placarded to the your panel.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it'll literally right
Uh,
above your, like, if you got your PFD, your primary flight display, or if you're rocking old school steam gauges, whatever. But it's like literally placarded to the, you know what I mean. So you have to be an idiot or a brand new student pilot in order to
yeah,
to mess
but
that
how
up.
do you? But I guess for me, it seems like it would be like kind of difficult to hear that radio call, right? Like, because we're calling the tail number, and then if you're switching planes, sometimes how do you avoid missing calls from air traffic? I guess is what I'm saying when you're switching planes. I know it's like on the placard, but when you see it, it's one thing, but when you hear traffic talking to you, how do you know to respond? Like when you're switching
Uh,
aircraft,
what do you mean when you say switching aircraft? What do you mean? Like if I fly
right?
like
Do
one
you always?
plane one day, then
Yeah, yeah. Do
like
you always fly the
oh
same aircraft?
no 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 oh okay so
Okay,
like if I fly like 9 Mike today and then fly I don't know 3 Alpha Golf tomorrow, is that what you mean?
right. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it just I don't even know. Like you just know. I don't even. I mean, because you got to think like before every flight. We've got to do our. We're pre-flighting the airplane. We're reviewing like maintenance logs. Like you're doing all your checks and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
and then again, it's literally right there in front of your face if you couldn't remember. So like if you're flying along, let's say you're cruising along, autopilot set, and then center comes on, like hey, call sign, switch to whatever frequency, blah blah blah. It's almost like I guess how you've got like active and inactive hearing in a way.
Okay.
Like I could be having a conversation with the guy sitting next to me, and we could be talking about I don't know, like the NFL playoffs. Like if we're in cruise and everything is all good to go, and then like the controller comes on, it's like okay that stops, and then so it's like I guess that's the best way to describe it is almost like inactive hearing or secondary hearing,
Gotcha.
whatever they call it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Um, what's the best thing about ATC?
Just being in control of it all. It's like a puzzle, man. It's like a puzzle, and just knowing that people, the pilots trust you, the controllers next to you trust you. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. It sounds it's not arrogant. It sounds like a Type A personality thing, which I don't even think I have a Type A personality. But just being able to control something like
Yeah.
that important, that big of airspace, that many aircraft, that many lives, and just knowing that's like all under your control, like they're listening to you. Um, yeah, and you're getting them home safely is big. That's the best part for me.
Yeah. Nah, that's what's up. And we
Yeah,
definitely
it's
got a
huge.
lot of yeah, I feel confident speaking on behalf of most pilots anyway of saying that now we definitely trust y'all and you know what I admire the most about controllers, man, is like regardless of their age or whatever the experience level may be, man, any controller I've ever spoken to at any facility, approach, departure, tower, ground, center, whatever, like all like the consummate professional, man, like for real. So
I
definitely like can
appreciate it.
appreciate y'all for that. And in the worst case scenario, man, maybe some of them are like on the mentality of fake it till you make it. But hey, you like as long as you sound like you know what you're doing, then you know what I mean.
Yep,
That's half the
yeah,
battle, right?
yeah. They are. Hey, we have to teach that and train that because we try to tell them like, hey, if you're on the other side of like, we try to relate it to like, if you're on the other side of like a 911 call and you sound scared, like the operator for 911 sounds scary when you call, he gonna trust that they're gonna get you help.
Right.
Like, no, you're not going to at all. So we teach confidence. It's just ingrained in you from day one.
Yeah.
Got to
No
sound like you
facts,
know what
man.
you're doing. So the pilot,
Exactly.
I don't want to.
Yep.
Have you heard of? Have you heard? You've heard some shaky controllers before? I'm guessing probably a lot.
I'm
Training
gonna be
where you could
real,
be like,
man.
yeah, that person's in training.
Like not I wouldn't say shaky, but you can definitely tell the ones that are probably a little bit newer. They all
Okay,
sound fairly confident, but um, you might hear the word what do y'all say a lot?
correction.
Correction. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one. That's the word.
that's
Yep.
the word.
You might hear correction like a little bit more, and then that's kind of like subconsciously like, okay, this guy maybe not. He might not be a new controller, but he might be new to like this facility. You know what I mean?
Right.
But still, like I think they're still very capable, and you know what I mean. I've never been in a situation where I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and land. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm done for the day. Like, you know what
I'm gonna chalk this one up.
I mean? Yeah, request vectors back to the
Yeah.
vectors. um. So yeah, man. I gotta ask you this, bro. Just because I mean, it wouldn't be me if I didn't ask. But you ever have any plans or aspirations to maybe like go see what it's like on the other side of the mic?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I want to fly. I do. I
Okay.
always wanted to. Yeah, I've always wanted to. Like you said, it's expensive, and then I just don't have the time right now. But once I
Yeah,
retire,
yeah.
once I retire in the next couple of years, I'm definitely gonna try it out. I don't know how far
That's
I'll
what's
go. Maybe it'll just be a private, just my private license, just VFR. Or if I love it, I'll keep pushing. But I definitely want
yeah.
to try it out.
That's what's
I
up.
actually looked into it. I looked into it like a few years ago.
Yeah.
I just never pursued it.
Well, hey, you already know, man. Whenever you back up my way in VA, we can definitely link up and make that happen, man.
Yeah. Hey, please.
Yeah, definitely always down to exposing people and letting people kind of get their hands on the controls and kind of see what it's like. Because that's a different experience, man. Like for most people that have, most I would say the vast majority of people have only ever, if they have flown, been in a passenger jet, right? So, being in a small airplane, especially like with the controls and everything, kind of right there sitting in front of you, is a completely different experience. So,
Right.
nah, I definitely would be excited to let kind of take you up.
Yeah,
Um,
please. Please, please.
so yeah, man. Lastly, man, last thing I got for you, bro, is excuse me, for anyone that who may be listening to this, once it comes out, um, or watching, via YouTube, what is one piece of advice that you would give to anyone that is interested in pursuing this as a career?
I just say the I guess the biggest piece of advice I could say is just go for it. Just follow through. Um, know that it's gonna be tough. It's not an easy road by any means, but just keep your eyes on the prize, stay focused, and you'll get it. Is the biggest thing I could say. It's not for
Yeah,
everyone, but yeah, if you stay focused, you'll get it.
yeah, definitely. That's what's up, man. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, with that, you passed. You were clear for the option, man. You
My
passed, man.
God.
Clear the land, man.
Cleared the land, my God.
Yeah,
Appreciate you. Thanks for this
yeah,
opportunity
man.
again, man. It's
Definitely,
big.
definitely appreciate your time, and this was fun. I'm looking forward to it coming out. I'll be doing some editing, like I said, over the next couple of days.
For sure.
This internet's a little shaky, but we'll get it right, man. But man, big ups to you, bro. Like man, the mission accomplishment for me. My biggest thing, man, was to one, I had an opportunity to catch up with you, man. Somebody that I used to have a lot of fun, knowing as young men, man. But obviously now, years later, man, I really took a lot away from this. Learn, man. I think anybody that hears this, they're gonna have the opportunity to take something away and learn too, man, which I think is important. So, especially with us, man, men of color, man, we brothers in different parts of the aviation industry, man. I think it's huge, man. We out here
Yeah,
too, man. We doing it, and that's kind of what it's really about. So, big
yes,
ups to you,
sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
But
Hey, big
yeah,
ups to you
we'll
too before you go. Big ups to you, man. You set your eyes on the prize. You locked in, man. I've been seeing you focused for years now. I ain't see you switch up at all. You said I'm about to start flying, checking off all the boxes. I followed all the videos, so that's something the followers need to see too, man. That you want to talk about ambition, somebody that's focused. They gotta follow you for that one. So big
Yeah, man,
ups.
I appreciate that.
Go ahead, for
Appreciate
sure.
that, my man. Well, yeah, we'll stop this here, man. We'll probably get off here and do our kind of own little debrief, if you will, once we go cold mic, man. But yeah, that's really all I got for you, man. So again, thanks again, bro. I appreciate you. Looking forward to this coming out.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks for the
All right.
opportunity, man.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.